Hello, Slimane, and welcome to the Holistic Recruiter. Obviously, we're no strangers to each other. We worked with each other for years. It's so nice to be able to get you on here. The reason why I've asked you to come on, and thank you for joining us, is because your experience and wealth of knowledge when it comes to marketing, brand, community, and blending that into the talent space is unparalleled. There's not many people with that much experience directly within the space than people that we're talking to. So welcome, and maybe you can just hit it off by just telling us a little bit about you and what you're up to at the moment.
Yeah, sure. So thanks, John, for having me today. It's a pleasure to meet you again after all these years working together. So I'm in the marketing space. I've been working for almost 10 years now in startups. I'm based in Paris. And for 8 years, I was the first marketer and then the head of marketing at the recruitment platform talent.io. So my specialty is brand strategy, content strategy, growth, and I have this very specific knowledge of the recruitment industry since I was working in that field for 8 years now.
Yeah, and I would love to extract as much from your brain as possible in these like 30 minutes or 40 minutes that we've got together. And I was thinking, if we can try and get people to come away with a bit of an overall view of the steps they should be taking when they're thinking about applying marketing to the recruitment process. And I was thinking maybe you could kick us off with like brand, like where do you start when you think about your brand and positioning yourself and stuff like that?
All right. So I want to start by acknowledging that stuff like brand marketing and strategy and everything is sounds very complex. And I think when you look it up on the internet, you get those very complex frameworks and step-by-step guides to build a brand and stuff. But I think, and especially when you have a small team, you should make it very simple. There's just a few steps you should follow and some questions you have to ask yourself. And by just doing this work, you'll be above the rest and you don't have to over-complexify things. So today I'm not going to go into too many details. I'm just going to share with you a list of questions and fields I think recruiters should work on, and just sit maybe with a pen and paper and start building their brand. So the first, having a strong brand is very important, obviously for any company, and if we want to translate that for the hiring field, it's very valuable because it's going to help you tremendously in attracting the right talent, and it's going to be way easier for you to convert all the talent that you interview for your positions. So the first stage I would say is before you start your hiring plan, before you start reaching out to talent, you have to sit down. Maybe so if you're a talent acquisition manager, you sit down with your lead and people are important in the field in your team, and you ask yourself what your company stands for and why should people join your company. So it's very simple to say it like that, but what's important, I think, is you have to put yourself in the perspective of the talent and think about them as marketers would do as users, right?
Yeah.
So when we think about users and we want to sell them our product, we ask ourselves, what's in it for them? Why should they buy your product? Or why should they join your company if you're thinking about hiring someone? And the reason you have to do that is because it's going to help you craft the right messaging and everything that goes after that. It's very simple. Basically, you just need 2 or 3 very strong key value points for your brand, key elements that you want to share on whenever you reach out. Maybe you think that the value of maybe you think that if a candidate joins your company, it's going to kickstart their career because they're going to learn so much within your company. That's a very valid brand aspect of your company, and this could be one of the 2 or 3 key elements you want to put at the forefront of your brand. So let me give you an example. If you're a tech company hiring software engineers, and you know that for them something you can bring to the table is going to kickstart their career, right? How can you prove that? So once you decided this is important for you, you have to prove this point and articulate and prove, find some proof, so it's credible to your audience. So an example is if you're hiring a software engineer, maybe you have a very great CTO in your company. Your CTO has been through 3-4 great companies. They are the best in, I don't know, Node.js, for instance. Then this is going to be one of the pillars to prove the key element of value of the brand of your company.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, John, it's very difficult for me to explain
No,
this.
I know, but your English is so much better than my French, right? I have to. I'm about to start another course in Alliance Française because I'm stuck at A2 level. So, but this is interesting what you've said, right? Because I think just going back to what you originally said, and it's what questions should the team ask themselves, and one of the reasons a holistic recruiter exists is because I feel that people are too much in the trenches all the time. They've got pressure. We need more CVs now. We need to hire these people yesterday. Why have you not got me 50 candidates? You know, this type of pressure, which can then completely defocus. So everything is always in the now, right? It's always in the now. It's very reactive rather than proactive. And I think what you're doing is basically saying, take a step back. I don't know who I was talking to the other day, but we were talking about it's a bit like the company narrative that you want to create. Who do you stand for? Where are you now? Where are you going? Where do you want to get to? You know, that type of stuff. So it really falls into that. And what is it that you think? Oh, sorry, fuck! I had a point I was going to make. Okay, so the pressure to hire, hang on, quick to main input. I can't read what I wrote. I'm going to edit this bit out. The question I wanted to ask you was, this is it, I'm back. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, how do you measure the effect of the input that you're putting into this, right? Like, how do you know that this is starting to work, and how long before you can see the effect of this, or should you expect to see the effect of this?
From a strong brand?
Yeah.
Right. So I would say there's 2 main ways to assess that, but you should not expect to be able to measure everything, right? We know it works, we know it's positive, but if you're hiring 5 people a year, you're not going to see, statistics going crazy. But there's 2 ways you can see the effects. The first one would be, do you get more inbound applications than you used to before? Because a strong brand is a brand that's recognizable and that's known, right? So people are aware that your company exists. And if you start making effort on your brand and your brand presence, a few months later, you should see that the next time you publish a job post, a job position, you should get an uptick, and you should see more inbound applications than before.
So basically, picking those type of metrics there would be a bit of an indicator as to whether it's having any effect at all, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Also, you may see an increase in the quality of and the relevancy of the applications, because now that you stand for something, and that people know what your company's brand is about, you should attract the talent that you want to work with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So then effectively you've got that. So you've understood what your brand is, who you are, right? Known yourself. You've asked these questions. What's the next thing you have to start thinking about?
Right. Just I wanted to say something. Another indicator before that,
okay,
of performance is going to be, and you're going to feel it, especially if you're doing all those recruitment calls. You're going to notice that when you have people on the phone or or talking with them via email, they already know your brand, and hence the closing is going to be way easier than it used to be. Because when you think about it, it's easier to sell something that people already know, and the same applies for recruitment. If the talent have a positive image of your company and they already know you, you should get higher conversion rate when you randomly DM someone on LinkedIn. And once they are in the funnel, maybe they're going to choose your company rather than the other company that hasn't worked on the brand as much as you did.
Yeah.
So you're going to feel it, maybe not statistically, but empirically at least, because people already know you and it's easier. Everything is going to feel more comfortable in the end.
Yeah. This is
So what was your
this is
question?
good to measure. Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, once you've managed to understand that, you've defined the metrics, you know who you are. What's the next step in the process?
I would say that a key element of a good brand strategy is to know your target audience, and it's a super cool thing to do and very simple, and you learn a lot. I would suggest that if you're a talent acquisition manager, or if you lead the team of talent acquisition managers, you start thinking about your target audience. So your the talent, start thinking about them as a target audience and as users, and you ask to them. You ask yourself, what do they want? What are their motivations, their fears? What do they love, etc. So that's the good news. It's so simple to do, and it's free. It's just you pick up your phone, or you go on LinkedIn, and you start reaching out to people that match your target audience, and you ask them if you can have a 30-minute, 20-minute call with them, and it's as simple as that. And you ask them. It's just a chat. You ask them about their current jobs, their position, what they love about it, what they hate about it, why would they leave their job, for what would it take for them to leave their job. And if you do that 5-10 times for a specific target audience, so a specific position, for instance, you'll learn so much. And you're going to document everything, and you'll have a list of motivations, etc. And this is going to help you tremendously whenever you need to write the job description, when you want to pitch a job over the phone, etc. So I think this is something that's not done at all. I do it myself for my brand strategy projects, obviously. Product managers do that as well. It's very common. But I think recruiters are missing out if they're not. Like, they should be doing this, because this is so helpful, and it's going to help you have a laser focus on your messaging.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also something, if you think how many calls a talent professional is doing in a week, they could even incorporate this into their actual conversations they're having anyway, right? And I think that's something that they could definitely do. But you were saying even as little as 5 to 10 conversations give you some validity and confidence in the persona, right? Or do you think a bit more?
The rule is you should get like 12. Usually, if you get 12, if you get more than that, maybe you get more precise, but it's not going to be that much more precise.
Okay, so 12, you mean 12 people saying the same type of thing? Is that what you mean? Or just 12 people
you have 12
speaking
conversations, and you should be. But the key is to speak to people that are within the same segment. Like, if you speak
the same persona of person, right?
Yeah. So I would say for the segments for a hiring manager are going to be defined by the positions they are hiring for. So if you're hiring for a senior salesperson, this is going to be your segment, and try to speak to people who match this segment. But I didn't say 12, because like 12 is a lot. It takes time. But if you, as you said, if you do it, maybe you take 5 minutes during each call you do, and you try to uncover stuff.
Yeah.
And
I mean, these are the type of questions that you'd expect a recruiter to be asking anyway, right? In a good qualification call, we put it like that. A discovery call, it's the same type of thing, right?
Then you document everything, you make it plain and simple, you share that to your team of talent acquisition managers, and this is going to be helpful for everyone.
I just start thinking now with the amount of tools you can use for transcribing all of the conversation that you've had, right? As long as they're okay for it to be transcribed, you have the whole transcript of 12 people, and then you just put that together, and then you'll find the commonalities, and you could probably understand the persona, the things that resonate, all that type of stuff with a tool, right? Super quickly.
You could, I guess you could use ChatGPT to infer some conclusions and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just about.
I mean, you should be able to do it yourself anyway, right? It's obvious.
You could do it yourself, whatever. Just try and do it, and even if you just speak to 5 people or whatever, you will learn stuff. And what's important is to do it, to try to intellectualize this process. I mean, think about it and draw conclusions, and this is going to be your basis for what's next, which is crafting your messaging, which is super important as well.
Okay. And is that what starts to go into the next stage? It would be the actual messages and what you're actually saying to people.
Right. So once you've done, so the first stage was to define what's your what you are about. So or what's in it for your users. Why would they join your company, basically, and find proof about that. The second stage would be knowing your audience and draw conclusions from speaking with them. And once you have those two pillars, you mix them. You try to match your what you have with what they want, and out of this will come your messaging guidelines. So it doesn't have to be complex as well, because it should be simple actually, because you want your teams to use it, and it should be guidelines, not like a 12-page essay. But once you have your key value points about your brand and the motivations of your audience, then you can start crafting your message and your messages. And the messages are they don't have to be super elaborate. It's more like, in my company, we are a career booster. We know that people want to. One of the motivation of our target audience is that if they join the company in 3 years' time, they want to be able to move up the ladder. So I'm going to craft a message around this. So I don't know, my company is great if you want to elevate your career, because the CTO is so good, and you will have like workshop with them, and so in 3 years' time from now, you know that you're going to move up the ladder. And
yeah,
you do that for your 3, 4, 5 key points of your brand, and this is just like a memo. You have all these 5 different messages, and whenever you need to write a job description or a post on socials or whatever, you pick this messaging and you adapt it to the right format. You make it nicer or whatever, but you know that you have your basically it's like a checklist. You have your checklist of messages that will support your claims.
Yeah. And are there any tips on how to understand like the tone of voice that you should be using, or is that linked to the persona of which you're talking to, or is it more about you learn that from your brand at the very beginning?
Personally, I think it's a process of back and forth between who you want to be and who's your target audience. So at first, the brand can come from, like, you can decide I'm hip, I'm young, I'm cool. So maybe you want to go that way, but then you speak to your audience and you're trying to reach out to 50 plus years old C-level execs. It's a mismatch, I think. So you will have to adjust based on that. But it's just ask yourself the question, like, should I speak to this target audience like that? Yes or no? And then if you ask yourself the question, you shouldn't make any mistake.
Okay, that's a good point. I like that.
It's just, the issue is that people don't ask themselves this kind of question. It's true that you can make a mistake. Maybe you you ask yourself the question and you make a poor decision. But usually, if you just do the work and you think about it, the what will come out of it will be positive and consistent with your with what you're trying to achieve.
And there was something that I learned from you whilst we were working together, and that was just about the power of A/B testing in that messaging. And
Right.
it's I think that's a really underutilized thing inside recruitment, because a lot of the tools that you use don't offer you the ability to be able to do that, right? The
Right.
lot of the ATSs, I still don't think there is a killer ATS out there yet. There probably is one doing A/B testing now, but like from what I've seen, there's nothing like amazing. But what tips can you give, or can you explain what A/B testing is in this when it comes to messaging people, and then I'll give you a follow up on that.
Right. So let's say you have your target audience of 100 potential customers, and you want to reach out to them, and you want them to open your email, and you want to test two different approaches, two different email subjects, to try and to see which one is going to increase the open rate, for instance. So you're going to split your your list of 100 potential customers into 50 and 50 people, and you're going to try out two different approaches. And in the end, you can just simply learn whether approach A or approach B is the best. So maybe the first message is we are the cheapest on the market. The other one is we have the best quality on the market, and you see what resonates.
And it's not necessarily like the whole message that's changing, right? It's just, it could be as subtle as the subject line.
So when you are A/B, yes. When you are A/B testing, when you're doing tests, it should be on a very specific point. You cannot test like 5 things in the same email.
Yeah.
So if you have a good understanding of your conversion funnel, so like maybe the first stage is open rate, then people who open your email, the second stage is going to be clicking on the call to action, the button, and the third stage would be once they land on your landing page or your job description, maybe, are they going to apply to your job? And so you have percentages between each stages, and you have this kind of skeleton. And when you're doing tests, you should be picking only one conversion stage to improve. So you cannot test at the same time different email subjects and different wordings within the email and a different landing page, because then it's going to
You
be
don't
like
really know
80.
what is the key thing that's driving that. And the other thing is, when it comes, we're always trying to encourage people to think about numbers, right? Because we get caught up a lot in feelings in the talent space, which is totally valid as well. Like, I think there's a lot to be said about that. But just to make sure that you're measuring, learning, iterating, and that type of stuff when you're trying again, are there any kind of like industry standard conversion rates that you should apply, or is it very relevant to the individual company? And what I mean is, like, is there a specific open rate that you would expect from this type of messaging and a certain number of clicks to be sure it's
It's
working
hard.
to some level?
It's hard to say, because for the recruitment, from the candidate side, I'm not sure. Like
No.
in B2B, for instance, I would say 50% open rate is going to be good for me. Like when I'm doing prospection, this is what I expect, because
Yeah.
I work very hard on targeting the right people at the right time. So when I send an email, I know that I'm reaching out to them for a good reason. But
Yeah.
when you're hiring, you're reaching out to people who are not specifically looking for a job right now. Maybe they get spammed a lot, because if it's a job that's very thought after, so they may ignore your message. So I know I don't have like a standard to share, but
Okay. No.
I
I
have,
just wanted to. It's good to know that if
I have a
it's
suggestion to, if you don't know, and if you want to go into, if you feel like you want to go into tracking stuff and having an idea of what's a good open rate for my company within my range, my industry, just start tracking and do it. You start your first campaign, and this is going to be your own standard for now. So you have your open rates, your click-through rate, your conversion rate, everything.
As
And
Nico always used to say, if you're not
exactly,
measuring, you're not learning, right? As we used to drill it into my head. If you're not measuring, you're not learning. If you're
yeah,
doing this, what are you not doing? This is the two things that stuck in my brain from Nico.
years after, you still remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just keep it simple, start tracking a few things, and you have your baseline, and then ask yourself, should I be improving? Like my open rate is 5%. This is, okay, I don't know the standard, but 5% is so low. So maybe you should work on that first. And you can make an hypothesis. Maybe if I start targeting better people, the open rate is going to increase. You test that. You can make another hypothesis is if I change the subject of the email, I'm going to improve the open rate as well. But yeah, if you have no idea, just you can ask around. Like if you're a talent acquisition manager, you have, I bet lots of different talent acquisition managers around. So maybe some of them are tracking stuff. You can ask them.
Yeah.
But otherwise, just start doing it and move up from there.
Yeah.
And
that comes into the next step, right?
Before that, I wanted to say something about A/B testing and tracking stuff. It's useful if you're doing things at scale, and like if you're hiring, if your pipeline is big and you're meeting tons of candidates, and I don't know, you're hiring month after month because you're building maybe you need to hire 60 people in 1 year, because then obviously I think if you're hiring 60 people, it means you have to meet, I don't know how many hundreds people to have them in your pipeline, right? So when you're doing things at scale like that, it makes sense to start tracking all the conversion rates and the steps. But if you're going to hire 3-4 people in the next 12 months, maybe don't overthink it. You can just track maybe open rates or see if your message resonates and you get replies. But you don't have to put into place like a very strong and solid and complex way of tracking stuff, because it's not worth it, I think. And
So basically, just you don't overcomplicate it. Don't over-engineer something effectively.
Exactly.
Just go with it.
Like if you spend more time building your tracking system than your face-to-face with candidates, I think it's a poor choice.
Then the hiring manager can have a case for what are you doing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And okay. And what about the actual funnel itself? What we meant to do there?
Yeah, the funnel, conversion funnel. So what's a marketing funnel first, and how to use it when you're hiring people? So whenever you have like a commercial process, companies use marketers and salespeople tend to break it down into different stages, and the first stage is always going to be like awareness. Are people aware of like your existence? Do they know that your company is over there, and do they know that you are a company that could be a good fit for them, maybe to if you're looking for a job? And so that's the first stage. And at the other end of the funnel, the further down the funnel is going to be like making the sales or conversion or hiring or whatever. And there's other stages, but I don't want to go into them because I think I want to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And what I want to talk here are 3 stages that are important, I think, in the context of hiring. So the first one would be awareness, making sure that your brand is out there, and people, even if they're not looking for a job right now, they've heard about you, and they know that you're a company that hires this type of like people like you, basically. The second stage would be conversion. So whenever someone enters your recruitment process, how do you work on that? And the third stage would be referral. So you get your users or your people who you've hired. If they're happy with your product, if they're happy with your company, they're going to refer other people as well. So the first stage, awareness, is is a bit confusing because it's hard to track, and also the effects are long term, and not it's not like I spend €1 and I get €2 back. So it's always, for startups, for instance, it's always a tricky aspect of marketing, because you feel like you're wasting money sometimes. It's not the case, but it's hard to track. But awareness is basically, is your target audience aware that you exist? And the way you can work on that is by defining your brand, obviously. And once your brand is there, you need to be out there. So what it means is, first you have to know where your target audience, where to meet your target audience. So if I were a talent acquisition manager, obviously I would make the list of all the places, the touch points I can have with my target audience. Obviously, there would be my company LinkedIn page, but maybe there's also all the the LinkedIn accounts of the talent acquisition managers, maybe the other teammates. Maybe you have to consider all your job posts on all the job boards and everywhere you use it. Those are valid touch points as well. Your career page, etc. So you have to make a list of all the possible places you can meet your audience to make yourself known. And some of them you're already there. It's good. You have a LinkedIn page. Some of them you're not there. And you can ask yourself, would it be relevant and cost effective for me to start, I don't know, being in this space or that space? And if you have the means to do it, you should be there. So at this stage, you're not trying to get people to apply to your job posting, right? You're just trying to be known, because when you know about the principle that repetition makes sales. Like if you put your product out there 5-10 times, then the sale is going to be way more easier. Like, obviously, that's one of the basics of marketing. And it works the same for your company if you're trying to make a hire. There's some great startups in France that are so famous because they are always visible on LinkedIn or this type, or maybe on Welcome to the Jungle or everywhere, because they push great content. They have videos, interviews, whatnot. And I think once you manage to do that, you are in a very strong position, because whenever someone like I'm in marketing, if I were looking for a job, there's 5-10 companies that will pop in my mind right now, like companies like from the tech space in Paris, because I've seen them so many times. And if a talent acquisition manager from one of these companies would reach out to me, I would say yes for a call.
Of course.
It's because
it's the whole thing is like, you might not need it, but when you do need it, it's the one that is coming to the front of mind, right?
Exactly. So that's why awareness is so important. And the way you can start working on it is by I would recommend trying to create some simple content, and it doesn't have to be complex. Like, now you have a phone, you can do videos, whatever. But and if you don't know what to talk about, you have to get back to the first stages of this conversation, which were you have defined your employer's branding and your key value points. So let's say I'm going back to the example of, I'm a tech company and I'm a great place to kickstart your career. The proof of that is that my CTO is a rock star and is going to learn you all the secrets, all the best skills of the industry. Well, then what I would do is just do maybe a series of 5 videos where I interview the CTO about some technical aspect of his job, or like his vision of how he can empower his teams to get better. Maybe I do another video about I do an interview about I interview one of the engineering managers to ask them how this company has helped them grow and learn skills. And you can do that very simply with with just your phone.
Yeah, and I mean, how long would people have to interview someone for? You can do it for a few minutes, right? It doesn't have to be an hour-long, 40-minute long form piece of thing. It could just be something very short, right? Like
a short 2 minutes.
Yeah,
is fine. And this basically what you're doing is you need to build a library of content, pieces of content that you can use to fill the space. So you remember I said first you identify the places you want to be seen. So maybe I don't know, your company's LinkedIn, and then you build elements, so pieces of content that you can push regularly. And by doing that, you're going to be visible, but also you're going to reinforce your values and what you stand for, and reinforce your message. So if you do that long enough, people will know you, and they will know what kind of company you are, and you will attract the right type of people, and it's going to be easier for you to be seen as a different kind of company.
I had a question for you. I think one of the most underutilized assets companies have is their existing talent pool, right?
Right.
That they
Yeah.
don't tap back into. It's constantly, let's look for more. We've said no to these, right? But I was thinking, if you define it, I mean, there are some companies that have done this quite well, but I don't think it's best practice. Is how do you create content-led journeys, specifically like slow burning content-led journeys for people that are inside your platform? So if you've been rejected from a job, right, or not taken forward in the next stage because of a particular reason, because you were just missing a little bit of experience, but it was a positive one, and
Right.
you know, and you could then bucket everybody and you put them on a slow year cycle, 18-month cycle at key points,
Mhm.
you know, whatever it could be. Like, what are your thoughts about that? Do you think that's worth investing in, or do you think it's
Yeah, sounds like a great idea, actually. I would say, like, so you're talking about all the
applications, people you've
applications. Yeah,
prospected, yeah, bidding process, this type of stuff?
I think, yeah, what I would do. So I think it's a great idea, and I mean, the bigger the audience,
Yeah,
the more value it will have for you.
of
But
course.
you have this large pool of talent. What how I would go about it is I would start by segmenting this. Like, as you said, maybe if you don't work well, you have the reason for rejection. So you're able to pick the potential good ones. Maybe they were too junior 1 year ago, so now they're good. So you start building one segment of candidates you want to reach out again to, and when you have, if you start crafting these short pieces of content, it's something very it's very valid, I think, to communicate about that. Maybe you send them an email or
Hmm.
send them through LinkedIn DM. I don't know, but this is actually you should use the you should use this pool of talent as much as you can.
Yeah,
It's
rather than
invaluable.
just keep trying to go top of the funnel all the
Yeah.
time. Is the
and and it's so much more, like, if you're sending interesting content, it has so much more value than just the day you need to hire someone. You say, hey, I have a job for you,
yeah,
join me, because maybe they're not looking for a job right now. But if
exactly.
you just try to keep in touch with them once a quarter, something like that, you send them an interesting piece of content about how your company could help them grow, something like that. Then maybe people will unsubscribe. It's like that, but it's okay. What you want in the end is the few people that are still there, that are opening your emails. These people, they are engaged with your brand, they like you, and the day they're looking for a job, or you want to reach out to offer them a job, they should be your priorities. So
Yeah,
it's perfectly fine if people unsubscribe. They were not interested,
yeah, of
maybe.
course. Yeah, you're not expecting them. It's not,
No.
but it's
So
well, maybe
don't
something
feel
to
bad.
try.
Yeah.
And I think there was one other thing we were talking about before, and it was just how do you what is it? What does like the perfect process look like when it's working and it's functioning and the whole system is working? What's the output? What should you hope to see?
What do you mean, the system?
Like all of the stuff, all of the process. Sorry, not the system, but the process. You understand the brand. You've got your knowledge and stuff like that. Like how let me rephrase the question. Like, how do you keep improving it? Right? How do you keep iterating to keep improving? Because it's not just going to stay static and be like, right, job done, tick. You know?
No. Yeah, but I mean, for your brand elements, and your target audience, knowing your target audience, this is something you don't have to do that every month, right?
Yep.
So this is done, and you hopefully you can rely on that for at least 1 year. You don't have to go over it every time.
Yeah.
Because this is more like a strategy. So this is like long term. I mean, 1 year is long term for a startup. So yeah, this you can keep it. You can refine it if you need, but it's fine. For the messaging part, this is something that you're going to make assumptions. So I know that I know that my target audience wants to kickstart their career. So assumption is I'm going to craft a message that says my CTO is great, is going to help you. I use this message a lot, and you will learn if if this message resonates with your audience. It's fine, keep it and build upon it. If you see that it doesn't perform that well and people don't care at all about that, then you have to craft another
Just
message.
Yeah.
Kill it, find a different angle. I don't know.
Yeah. No, and I think that's the other thing that I've learned speaking to people like you and other people in marketing. Like, if it really isn't working, just kill it. Like, don't give it enough time. Like, give it a reasonable amount of time, but don't. If it really is a slog, it probably means it's not resonating. So just kill it and focus on something that might be able to help you a bit more, right?
And same goes for there's the messaging and there's the I would call it like distribution. So it's where you meet your
Channels and
audience.
stuff, right?
The channels, yes.
Yeah.
So you cannot do everything at once. So what we do when we do marketing plans, we prioritize for on a quarter. Basically, we say we're going to try this type of messaging on this type of channels. So maybe we prioritize LinkedIn and I don't know, Facebook ads, whatever. And we have a few different messages we try. And at the end of the quarter, we take 1-2 days, we step back to analyze what worked, what didn't work, and we kill what didn't work, and we double down on what worked well, and we also come up with new hypotheses or new stuff to replace what didn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So
You
it's
test your
important.
assumptions, right?
The mindset here is you make your assumptions, you use them for maybe a cycle. It could be 1 quarter, a semester, and once you're done with them, you plan ahead of time to take some maybe 1 day to just do what we call a zoom out. You stop whatever you are doing and you take a good hard look at your brand, your messaging, and how everything works, and you make decisions for the next semester, basically.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, this has been super, super interesting. I think we're coming up to our kind of allotted time that I've stolen from you. Something that I think we never got to talk about this, but something that maybe we could do another time is just to talk about the community work that you did. And if you have a big budget and lots of people, then this could be an option, right? But this is something at scale for a larger business, and if you're hiring like really like crazy. What would be your number one tip to anyone that's looking to try this? Even if it's I don't know, someone's been thinking about doing it for a while and they're like, right, we're gonna try and do it. They've got limited resource, but they want to go. What would you say?
Honestly, know your target audience. So go and reach out to them. Maybe you plan within your interviews to have a few questions about their motivations and what they like in their current work, whatever. You want to know them really deep, really well, and document that. And this is going to drive all your decision making after.
Okay.
So use our research.
And you would definitely say that this is, let's say, for example, you've got 30 different jobs. They're all different. You need 30 different personas, right?
That's a tricky question. But I bet if you have 30 different jobs, you have
all right, there's going to be some common. Let's say you have 30 buckets, right? You're a bigger company. You have people in marketing, product. You have different stuff, right? You might have different types of developers. You might have a Python engineer and a React engineer. You might have
maybe you can group them by
okay,
the tech people, the marketers. Like I think junior marketers and senior marketers, they have some similar aspirations, maybe, or some similar reasons to join your company.
This is good.
But yeah, I mean, ideally, if you have the resources, you like if you when you do marketing, you have personas and buckets for every
But
segment.
like you said before, the reason why you get a higher conversion rate is because of the effort and the work you put in up front to understand your audience. And I
Yes.
suppose the more effort you put in at the very beginning, the better it's going to grow, right?
Yeah,
At the
because
end.
then everything is easier after, because when you know them, you know what they want, you know where to meet them as well, because you're going to ask them when you're looking for a new job, how do you learn about a company? Once you know that, you know what to tell them, you know where to meet them, and it's all logical. You don't have to
Yeah.
guess and to go crazy about it. So this is very helpful. And also another tip I would say you could use to learn about your audience is use Reddit. Go on Reddit. There's so many uh, groups like subreddits where people talk about the jobs they're looking for or ask career questions. And I know from when I wanted to market towards software engineers, I would go on this on Reddit, because there were so many discussions about you see hundreds of software engineers talking about why they hate their jobs or why they love it, what's their compensation, what are their dreams, and it's just like very candid, they're talking about it.
There we go. There's a very good top tip. I don't imagine everyone's looking at that. That's a good insight. So thanks for
Yeah,
sharing
it's
that
a
one.
lot.
Okay. If anybody wants to follow what you're doing, which is like, I don't know, say somebody needs some help or advice setting this type of stuff up, and
Yes,
they need your more in-depth knowledge. How can they get in touch with you?
they should just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always
Okay.
there. I'm a freelance consultant for branding, brand strategy, and content strategy mostly. So just reach out if you
Okay,
need.
I'll put the link in the bio and description so people can reach out to you. But honestly, Slimane, it's been absolutely brilliant. There's some really good nuggets in there, and I think there's some really good actionable things people can take away. So thank you for giving me your time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, John.
Thanks a lot, mate. See you later.